Hey everyone, Alan here, and welcome to Photo Edit Fridays. This is a new series where in every episode I'm going to quickly edit a photo with you, and I'll talk through my decisions, my thought process, and my workflow as I edit. And just to be clear from the get-go, the goal of this series isn't to teach you the correct or only way to edit a photo, because there really isn't such a thing. But instead, I'm just trying to help you develop your own editing style by giving you a peek behind the curtain at mine. I will be editing in Capture One this week, but the tools, the techniques, and the thought processes that I'll go through are applicable no matter what editing software you use. Enough of all of that though, let's jump into Capture One and start editing. All right, so I'm about to jump in and edit this photo, but before I do, I just wanted to give a special shout out to Woody Mallory, who's a regular commenter on this channel, and the other day in another video, he requested that I edit this photo of this bluebird, so that's what we're gonna do today. I took this photo just about a week ago in a state park with the Nikon Z9 and the 500 PF, and I just love this shot. Specifically, the thing that I'm really drawn to are these really out of focus grasses in the background, contrasted with this one, single plant that the bluebird is sitting on. I would say that I don't like some of the colors and the greens in the top and some of these branches that are sort of distracting at the bottom. So I think the goal of today is going to be to clean this up a little bit and edit it just like I would edit it if I were to put it on my website. So let's get started. And the first thing I always like to do with an edit is to crop it. I can tell already by looking at this photo that there's a lot going on basically below this line. I think a crop will solve a lot of what I don't like with this photo. So I'm actually going to opt for a 3x4, and I'm going to bring it in just a little bit so that if I look at the grid, the bird and the plant are sort of central to the photo, but then there's this nice sort of circle, this natural vignette in the photo in the background as well. It looks pretty nice. We might tweak it just a little bit. All right, so that's what we're gonna go with. Now the first thing I always do for most of my photos is I have created a style over here in the style tab, a custom preset that just represents all of the base changes that I would typically make. So we'll go ahead and add a filled layer and add those adjustments, and I'll tell you what they are. So in this preset, I bring up the exposure just a little bit. As you can see here, just about 1/4 of a stop. And I bring down the whites and the blacks. I make a tiny slight S-curve in the photo, and I tweak the white balance just a little bit. So I think I make it slightly more magenta, slightly more warm. You might notice if I click the before and after that there is a slight magenta shift, and the colors just to look a little nicer. So that's the base thing that I do to most of my photos, and if I want to dial it back a little bit, I'll just bring down the opacity, but to some extent I am going to make those adjustments in every photo. From there, I'm going to go ahead and make a new filled layer on top, which I'll make my base adjustments, and I think I'm actually going to bring the exposure up a little bit more because I really want the bird to be bright and light and stick out, because I'm going to add a vignette to this. I want to kind of emphasize and complement the natural vignette in the photo. So I'll do that by adding a layer and using this tool right here, the radial gradient mask, to draw a circle. And you can kind of see what's going to be affected by hitting the M key. That's a shortcut in Capture One. And everything in red is going to have this mask applied to it, and everything in white will not. And so I like to make it a very gradual change to keep it subtle, and I'm gonna actually play with it a little bit to get it to line up nicely with this grass that's in the bottom of the field. So a little bit of a rotation here maybe. I think that looks nice. And I'm gonna bring this down about a stop, and then I'll use my opacity slider to dial it back. I always like to go for what I think looks nice and then dial it back a little bit because I'm usually a little heavy-handed. And clicking my before and after, you can see that this looks like a pretty drastic change. The bird is really popping out now, but it might be a little too drastic. So again, I like to dial it back a little bit until it looks the way that I want. I really like this, but one thing I do also want to change is I don't like some of these greens that are in the background here. So I'm going to go ahead and add another filled layer, and I'm going to show you another trick that I use in almost all of my photos. I'm going to bring down the saturation in every color, but I'm actually going to do green last. So actually you can see there isn't really that much green in the photo. I think it might be an optical illusion with the yellow. Yes, it is. So let's go ahead and bring it down. And I like to bring back the colors one at a time to really just make the photo seem as minimal as possible. So too much color, I think, sometimes can add distraction. And so I really want to focus on just the bird here. And I think the main color that I was seeing in the before is orange. So let me just start by saturating the orange and let's see what the photo looks like. I really like this. I really like how the orange pops on the bluebird's chest. I'm gonna oversaturate the orange just a little bit to help to emphasize that. And then let's take a look at the red and see if there's some red in that field as well. And there is, and it looks pretty nice. And then next, let's go with the yellows. And as I'm saturating the yellows, I'm noticing there's a green tint to them. So I'm gonna go ahead and shift the hue a little bit on my yellows to make them a little more red. That looks nice. And with my greens, which there aren't a lot of, I'm gonna keep them a little desaturated and shift the hue more towards the yellow because I just want it to simply emphasize sort of the orange on the bird and the blue on the bird and then the grasses here. So now let's look at a before and after. Now, this bird has some blue, obviously as a bluebird. So let's bring up the cyan and see if we see very much. There really isn't much, but if you look closely here under the belly of the bird, see there is a little there that I think I could do without, and I think it's maybe a reflection or a color cast from something else, so I'll bring it up but not all the way to 0. I'm going to keep that a little desaturated, but we want the bird, the blue on the bird here to really pop, so let's bring that up. Again, I don't want to overdo it. If you overdo it, bring it all the way up here. I see this on Facebook all the time and on social media. It just looks too oversaturated to me. It doesn't look natural anymore. So I'm going to just go up a little bit because I want to emphasize it, but I don't want it to look unnatural. So again, before and after, it looked a little dull in the before, and same with the orange, but in the after, I think it really stands out and it doesn't look fake and it doesn't look overly saturated. I'm still not loving how there appears to be some green in this photo. So I might have to play with this a little bit, but let's keep adding in the rest of the colors here. Now, are we getting any purple? Yes, so down here in the grass, there is a little bit of purple. So I'm gonna bring that up to basically 0. I want it to be there. I don't want it to be too strong, but I bet, yes, the rest of the color is in the pink, and I kind of want that to look a little red, so. Okay. Now that I have the colors back, the vignette is looking good at the bottom, but I feel like it's a little splotchy at the top here. So I think I'm gonna keep the vignette on the bottom, and on the top, I'm gonna go ahead and do a linear gradient. And let's try to increase the exposure at the top to kind of even out the light at the top, and potentially here in the top right. Oh, a little too much. Smooth that out a little bit. And maybe in the top left as well. Nice and smooth, nice and visible. And honestly, I think that looks really nice. So we've got the vignette at the bottom that is lovely to look at, nice creamy bokeh, and then in the top, we've got less distracting vignette. So the focus is on the bird. My eye goes straight to the bluebird and then to the plant that it's on and then to the background. If I were to try one more thing, if I want it to be a little artsy, which I don't think I'll keep it, but just for giggles today, I'll show you. I might try to actually add a radial gradient here at the top. And I might change the white balance on it to warm it up a little bit. It's gonna look crazy at first, but just trust the process. And bring up the exposure, and then I'm gonna dial the opacity way back. Just playing with it to kind of really emphasize, maybe here at the top, a nice sunny sunrise morning. But again, bring that opacity back. See what it looks like before and after. Kind of dull at the top, a little more dreamy now with this, but again, I don't want to overdo it. And I do think that it does look quite nice. Now the total before and after here is quite dramatic. So minimal editing, but a dramatic difference. I like it. I'm going to play with this a little bit more, and then I will share with you the final shot. It's coming up now. All right, well, I hope you like that edit, and thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please let me know in the comments down below, and maybe we'll have some more Photo Edit Fridays. All right, until next time, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.